Hi there, welcome to Transfer Talk. Manchester United are doing everything they can to sign Benjamin Sesko. Will they get the striker signed soon? We're live to Manchester shortly. James Maddison's season could be over before it's even begun. He suffered a serious knee injury. Will Spurs look to the transfer market to replace him? We'll look at all the options. Also this hour, we'll hear from Enzo Maresca as he looks to trim his squad ahead of the new season. And Darwin Núñez looks set to leave the champions Liverpool and head to the Saudi Pro League. What implications could that move have on Alexander Isak? A very good afternoon to you and a very warm welcome to Rob Earnshaw as well. Great to have you with us this afternoon. We start though with huge and really disappointing news around James Maddison. Spurs have confirmed that he will undergo surgery for a ruptured anterior cruciate ligament injury in his right knee. The 28-year-old midfielder suffered the injury during their pre-season friendly against Newcastle on Sunday in South Korea. His surgery will take place in the coming days, and following that, he will then begin his rehabilitation with the medical team. Rob, let's get your reaction to this now. Firstly, from a Maddison perspective, how much of a blow will this be? Because he's just returned from a knee injury.
Yeah, do you know what? I feel for him. He's going to be right now so devastated for a couple of big reasons. Because number one, he wants to play under the new manager. Number two, of course, he wants to be on the pitch. Every footballer wants to be on the pitch. And then the other thing is, long term, this is a World Cup year. You know, at the end of the season, you're playing for a spot because he's going to be thinking, can I play for England? Can I go to a World Cup? And unfortunately, the type of injury that he's got is pretty much the whole season. We'll be lucky to see him again this season. Unfortunately, we hope it's as soon as possible and it's quick. But you're talking cruciates normally at least 6 months, and that's fast.
Tottenham have won 51% of their Premier League matches when James Maddison has started for them, compared to 24% without him. So it's clear to see he's going to leave a massive void.
Yeah, do you know what I like about him is he's one of those players that he gets you out of your seat, because a number 10 guy who says, give me the ball, he's creative, he's not shy in the moment where to make the right pass, to shoot, to finish, and he's got a bit of magic in him. And that's why, as a kind of a football fan, I think most people is going to be devastated that we don't get to watch him, because I think he's a quality player. The big problem now is he's done that now in pre-season. Tottenham have got a big problem now. Their number 10, Son's just gone, and their number 10 is now injured pretty much for the season. Bonus if he's back this season, but that's two players now in a couple of days that are out for a long time. And
Kulusevski is out as well with a knee injury at this moment in time. They were unable to sign Morgan Gibbs-White earlier on in this transfer window. So is it fairly simple that they need to act now?
Oh, they need to act, yeah. And listen, a couple of things as well is that the injury with Maddison, a few weeks ago we were talking about Gibbs-White signing, he's ready for the medical, then he wasn't. So they've missed out on that as well, because I'm sure they wanted to bring both of them in and both of them to be fighting for places. Both will be probably not there. So I think they need to act quickly. I think they need to move very, very fast, because when you miss Son, what an incredible Premier League player, by the way. And Maddison is a quality player for Tottenham. You're missing pieces. Great thing, signed Kudus. I think Kudus could be real special for Tottenham, but they need to add, I think, probably two more. Kulusevski's quality, but he's also injured. So there's a lot of space there for Tottenham to add quality.
Now, on digital platforms, we're asking, do Tottenham need to find a replacement for James Maddison? If you listen to Rob Earnshaw, you'll say, yes, they do. You can get involved with us by scanning the QR code. Is it imperative they sign somebody before the start of the season? Tottenham have tried in the past to sign Jack Grealish a long time ago. He's a player that could be available in this transfer window. Clearly, wages are going to be a problem there. Eber Eze is a player of interest as well. Who would you be looking at targeting if you were Spurs right now?
I think they'll have a list. I think behind the scenes, they would have probably had a list of players that they're interested in, whether they do something now or in the next year or so. But I would assume Thomas Frank has gone in and given him an attacking page of players that he likes and he would like to bring in. I think that's going to be moved forward very, very quickly, because he's going to say, listen, look, Son's just gone. I've now got a ACL. I need players. Yes, we've signed one or two, but it's not enough. We need more. And that's where it's going to be. Jack Grealish, I think, would be absolutely perfect for Tottenham. I feel like he would fit in. I feel like he's got his best football still almost to come. You know, you always feel like Jack Grealish has got still more to come. I think he'll be perfect. Can they get him? That's the only tricky thing. Maybe it is a loan to a signing permanently. But I think somebody like Jack Grealish would be absolutely perfect for Tottenham.
Do you think he'd be interested in the move? Clearly, wages are going to be an issue because he's on a very significant contract at Manchester City, so there may need to be a compromise on Grealish's behalf, on City's behalf as well. But the opportunity to join a club like Tottenham, fighting for Champions League football, playing in the Champions League this season, with a World Cup on the horizon, surely this would make sense. Oh
yeah, I think it would be definitely tempting for Jack Grealish. I think he would look at that. I think, number one, the clubs have to agree. When the clubs agree, which I think it won't take too much. I think you could probably get Jack Grealish, whether it's a loan, whether it's a permanent. The problem is they signed him for 100 million. What is he worth now? Probably less than that, but still is going to be, I would imagine, at least in the 80 million. But can you get him on loan? I think you might be able to get him on loan. Maybe you can negotiate a deal that brings him in on loan and then makes it permanent later on. But Tottenham are going to have to pay some serious wages. That's going to be the tricky part. Can they do that? I think they can do it on a loan, but I don't think they can pay a lot of money and pay the contract that Jack Grealish would probably demand. But I would say that it just feels footballing right for Jack Grealish to see him at Tottenham. I think I would love to see that. I think that would be a great move for him, a perfect move for him. And also, I think the opportunity and a platform for him to just be able to just play and do the things that we know Jack Grealish can do. He can produce magic. He can be creative. He can score goals. And, Tottenham would be very, very nice for him, I think. OK, we'll wait to see what Tottenham do. Huge blow for James Maddison this afternoon. Now, some significant breaking news. PSG and Bournemouth are in advanced talks over a deal for defender Ilya Zabani. In July, Bournemouth rejected PSG's second offer, which totalled £55 million, but we're anticipating another offer to follow, which is now being discussed. Talks are currently around add-ons, with a fixed fee of €63 million, with add-ons being discussed. Spurs are one of the sides who have reportedly been interested in signing Ilya Zabani. For Bournemouth, they had a brilliant season last year under Andoni Iraola. If they're to lose Zabani, Kerkez and Howson in the same transfer window, Kepa's now left the club as well. They've had a really difficult pre-season as well. This doesn't put them in a great spot ahead of the season. It puts them in a horrible spot, because if you lose Kepa, your goalkeeper, Zabani, if he does end up going, because let's face it, there'll be temptation there, and at the right price, he could go. Huysen he's gone to Real Madrid, and Kerkez has gone to Liverpool. So they're going to lose players, but I think it's a devastating window, to be honest with you. But I would say this: I think they probably expected it, because I think they know they've got value in the players, and at some point, if the price is right, they're gone, like as we can see. But if Zabani goes, it's a worry. But let's take it back 1 year. Everybody thought that Bournemouth were going to be the favourites to get relegated 1 year ago. They were nowhere near that. So they seem to continue to produce players as well, though. Let's not forget that. So if one goes out, no problem. They find a bargain somewhere. I think they might be okay, even though they're going to lose, and everybody's going to be devastated that they lost some of their best players from last season. OK, we wait to see what happens with Ilya Zabani. More transfer news into us. Burnley have confirmed the signing of goalkeeper Martin Dubravka from Newcastle. He signed a one-year contract at Turf Moor and will wear the number 1 jersey. But let's get to Benjamin Sesko now, as Manchester United move into pole position to sign the RB Leipzig forward. Let's go live to Manchester
and speak to our reporter, Daniel Kahn. Daniel, good to see you once again. Is this move progressing? How close are we now?
Yeah, afternoon, James. Really, the latest update we have on Benjamin Sesko from our colleagues at Sky Germany is the talks are still continuing today between Manchester United and RB Leipzig over Sesko's potential signing. We understand both club representatives are in Leipzig to really flesh out the final details of this deal if they can come to an agreement. And we have reported consistently over this deal that Sesko's preference has always been Manchester United, even with Newcastle United in the wings, waiting to see if maybe this deal collapses. They'll be in the wings to try and finalise the deal for Sesko, but it does seem Manchester United are in pole position to get this deal done, but still yet to have a club-to-club agreement. If they are able, though, to do that today, Sesko is poised and waiting to fly to the UK and get these final details done, for example, his medical. So we'll wait and see. Still a bit yet to be done in this deal, but Manchester United look like they're edging closer to their fourth major signing of this summer transfer window.
Now into midfield, Carlos Balaba's been linked with a move to the club. Brighton, very clear, they don't want to sell. Could United afford him anyway, even if they get Sesko?
Yeah, look, if they get Sesko, they would have spent just under £200 million on the Slovenian, Brian Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha, which would form a brand new attacking lineup for Ruben Amorim. What I think you have to look at is for United, if they get Sesko over the line, is they really do need to raise funds in terms of sales, but also they found other avenues to raise funds for the likes of Sesko as well. When you consider some of the deals that have been on elsewhere this summer where United have really benefited from, you look at Salons in terms of Anthony Elanga, former United player, and Alvaro Carreras going to Newcastle United and Real Madrid respectively. United have picked up some sell-on clauses there in terms of funds. You also have the likes of Jadon Sancho not making that permanent switch to Chelsea, which they then owed United a bit of a fee for not making that a permanent deal. And you also have Marcus Rashford joining Barcelona, where the Spanish giants are covering his whole wages for the season during his move for the Catalan club. So in all of that, all of those deals, United are recouping some money to make their summer a bit more flexible in that sense. And then you add on the potential sales of players we know really aren't part of Ruben Amorim's plans going forward. The likes of Alejandro Garnacho, Jadon Sancho I mentioned already, Anthony, who had a really promising season, half season at Real Betis last year as well. And you still have Tyrell Malacia, who's not played a whole lot of football in the last few years either. All of these players, you would think, especially Garnacho, you would think, we know Chelsea are interested in him, could raise some serious funds for this United side in terms of looking to strengthen in that midfield. You mentioned Baleba being linked as well. I think that's an area you look at Ruben Amorim's side as they prepare for that opener against Arsenal for next Sunday. Midfield is perhaps that one position where you're still unsure of maybe what Ruben Amorim's best options are. So we'll wait and see. It feels like United's window isn't over just yet, even once they get Sesko over the line in terms of incomings as well as departures.
Daniel, thank you very much for now. So Rob, it's our understanding that Sesko's preference is Manchester United over Newcastle. Why would a player prioritise signing for a club that finished 15th last season over a club who are in the Champions League this campaign?
Well, listen, players will look at the histories of the club and also the size of the club. I mean the global size. Newcastle is a big club, of course, but let's face it, it's not a Manchester United club size, especially in the global sense. Players will look at that. Players will look to go and sign for a team that is known globally and has that history, that has that tradition of winning big trophies. So it would have been trickier this year because, yes, Manchester United finished 15th, no Champions League. Newcastle in the Champions League, flying. There's two Champions League runs now they're going to have. So I think somebody like Sesko is thinking, maybe I'm looking at Manchester United and maybe I could be one of the heroes there. You know, who am I competing with? If I'm coming in, am I playing? Maybe it's the case that he's playing. I think it's also the opportunity to be a new hero for this new project, this new Manchester United, because going from zero to all of a sudden, maybe in 1 year's time, they're looking at Champions League. That's also inviting. But listen, there's somebody who's done very, very well. But also, I think the biggest turnaround would be also contracts. You know, if Manchester United are paying and giving them a contract that is way different to Newcastle, that is going to be a big factor for a player. So, you know, and why not? You know, he's going to be looking at it as, I've got two offers. This one is this one is that. Right now, contract, size of the club, be a global star. Sometimes these are inviting for a player.
So it looks like United could completely revolutionise their front line with Mbeumo, Cunha and Sesko, though work still to be done there. Carlos Baleba is a player of interest. Daniel was just speaking about him then. There's been no club-to-club contact, but can you understand why United are looking to strengthen in midfield as well?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they need to. They probably, considering the deals that they've done with Mbeumo and Cunha, it looks as if going forward they're going to have a lot of creativity, a lot of good players that can score goals and create. But I still think the missing link is that midfield. Ugarte came in, but not really hit the high levels. Casemiro's still there. Mainu is maybe underperformed a little bit, but he's brilliant. And I think he's one that I think might hit some new levels this year. But Baleba, I think, would be brilliant for Manchester United. I think he would be a player that brings in a higher level than they have. I think it's somebody who's ready to go. The problem is going to be the cost. He's going to cost a lot of money. But as a player, I think that would be an unbelievable transfer window if they can bring somebody like Baleba in, because he showed last year. There was times last year where you just look at him and you think he can do so many things. And his energy is crazy. It's infectious as well, because sometimes a player like that just brings energy into the rest of the team. I think that would be an unbelievable transfer window if they did bring them in.
Rob, thank you very much for now. Well, what a start to the show. It's been loads of breaking news. And if you just missed it, here we go. PSG and Bournemouth are in advanced talks over a deal for defender Ilya Zabani. The deal worth around £55 million plus add-ons. And in the last few minutes, Burnley have brought in a goalkeeper. The experienced Martin Dubravka has left Newcastle after 7.5 years. He's joined Burnley on a 1-year deal. There is loads still to come, including the transfer business at Chelsea. We'll be hearing from Enzo Maresca on potential departures at the club. And a reminder of the big breaking news at the bottom of your screen. James Maddison has suffered an ACL injury and is likely to miss the majority of the upcoming Premier League season. More shortly. Hi there, welcome back to Transfer Talk. Now, we've been asking you if you think Tottenham need to sign a replacement for James Maddison. The midfielder has suffered an ACL injury. 86% of you say yes, Tottenham need to sign somebody to fill the void. And you can continue to get involved using our poll, using the QR code, which is on your screen right now. Now, to some big breaking news from West Ham involving Michail Antonio. Chris Reedy is at West Ham's training ground for us now. Chris, what can you tell us about the news that broke in the last hour or so?
Yeah, afternoon, James. Within the last hour, West Ham have confirmed that Michail Antonio will not be signing a new contract as a first-team player at the club. Now, look, Antonio's been at the club since 2015. We all remember when he came in, starting as a right-back, sometimes right midfielder, but he'd go on to become the club's record Premier League goal scorer. He's really had a fantastic time at the club. However, we do remember the injuries that he suffered at the end of last year in December in that road traffic accident. Now, West Ham have seen him through that recovery. They've seen him through the rehab, which ended up culminating in him coming off the bench for Jamaica in the summer and actually playing for the West Ham under-21s team just recently and scoring a couple of goals as well. However, look, West Ham they've confirmed that he's not going to continue as a first-team player. And actually, Graham Potter in America last week did sort of hint at this, but the confirmation's been official. But interestingly, in their club statement, they did say dialogue continues over his future involvement with the club in an alternative capacity, including one that will enable others to benefit from his experience and leadership qualities. So we could see Antonio continue as a coach here, but I think West Ham will make that clear in the next few weeks. And also, I guess we'll hear from Antonio in the next few weeks as well if he wants to continue his career as a player.
Chris, it's been a fairly quiet window so far. They've brought in a few players. Diouf looked brilliant at left-back the other night in the Premier League Summer Series. Looks like they're trying to be busy and bring in more signings. Who are they after?
Yeah, you're right, James. I mean, in terms of money spent, El Hadji Malik Diouf, he's the only one so far in terms of a transfer fee, 90 million from Sparta Prague. And like you said, against Bournemouth, it was brilliant up and down that left wing. And if anyone saw him play against England for Senegal earlier on in the summer, they'll know what a good player West Ham have got on the left wing. You must mention they brought in the likes of Kyle Walker-Peters on a free transfer from Southampton, and also Callum Wilson from Newcastle as well. But look, you ask about what's next, and I think the priorities for West Ham right now are goalkeeper and central midfield. If we start with goalkeeper, we know there's been interest in Leicester's Mads Hermansen. There was a formal approach made, but right now the teams can't come to an agreement on the valuation for that player. So in the meantime, they've looked at John Victor from Botafogo, and we believe that West Ham are in advanced talks there for that one. So look, it's a tale of two keepers at the moment in that position. We'll see how that pans out in the next couple of weeks. Centre midfield-wise, we know that Carlos Soler returned to PSG at the end of his loan at the end of last season. So we do believe that sort of deep-lying sixth position is somewhere that West Ham are looking to target. Ezequiel Palacios at Bayer Leverkusen, we believe to be on the list. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, I think Everton's involvement in that transfer now has ruled that one out. But I must mention as well in that position, Freddie Potts has made a really good impression, the young central midfield player out in America and in Germany, where West Ham have been conducting their pre-season preparation. He looks like a real tidy player, and obviously with the Premier League season just a couple of weeks away now, and West Ham's first game against Sunderland, if West Ham don't manage to address that centre midfield position, I wouldn't be surprised to see Freddie Potts have an involvement in that first game there.
Chris, thank you very much for now. We've got a brief update to bring you on Michail Antonio as well. Interest from home and abroad is growing in the striker. Clubs in the Premier League, Championship and abroad, including Saudi Arabia, have made initial contact with his representatives to explore the conditions of a deal. He has left West Ham following the expiration of his contract. Let's get to Chelsea though. They signed defender Jorel Hato from Ajax on Sunday, but could they need another centre-back before the transfer window closes? Levi Colwill could miss their Premier League opener at home to Crystal Palace next weekend, and Gail Davis can bring us the very latest.
Well, it is the worst possible news for Enzo Maresca regarding Levi Colwill. We don't know the extent of the damage. It happened in the first training session back on Monday, but you got the sense from Maresca that it wasn't good news. And Colwill was absolutely key for Chelsea last year, started all but 3 Premier League games. And Maresca made the point in the press conference that so much of the success last season was down to him. So we wait and find out the extent of that. And it may well change their thinking in terms of the transfer market. He was asked about that in the press conference, just to shore up that centre-half position. In terms of outgoings, well, Nicholas Jackson is the most high profile that could leave the club. There are so many teams, aren't they, looking for a number 9 across Europe and of course in the Saudi League as well. And as far as he's concerned, he didn't give any assurances that he would be staying beyond the window shutting. Listen out too for what he had to say about Ben Chilwell and Raheem Sterling, who we know were away on loan last season, and the club would like them to move on.
The situation, I think, is quite clear. They are training. I guess they are waiting for solution. But when they leave, it's just the club that they text me or they call me, even Tom, and that he just mentioned me that Leslie joined Burnley. But I have this kind of news from him or from the club because I don't pay attention with the ones that they are training and they need to leave. I just focus on how we prepare the session, how we can win games, and this kind of news they are from Tom, from the club.
So Chelsea have 13 days to prepare for the start of the Premier League season, but Maresca is certainly hoping that the way they ended the season, the confidence of lifting that World Club trophy can go some way to help spark a really positive start to this Premier League campaign.
Now, we've got an update on a potential outgoing at Chelsea. We understand Burnley remain in talks with the representatives of striker Armando Buer over the terms of his contract. A deal between the two clubs is fully agreed. Buer has completed his medical. Burnley are optimistic a deal can be finalised this week. And there is plenty going on at Chelsea right now. We'll continue the discussion with Rob Earnshaw in the studio as we look at the future of Nicholas Jackson and a few other squad players at the club. Hi there, welcome back. Let's get more on Manchester United and their pursuit of Benjamin Sesko. We can speak live to football journalist and United We Stand editor Andy Mitten. Andy, great to see you. Welcome along. We understand Sesko's preference is for a move to Old Trafford. Do you think he'd be a good fit for Ruben Amorim?
Yeah, it's a player Manchester United have been watching for years. Indeed, under Eric Ten Hag, he was the number one transfer target for Manchester United as far as the strikers go, and for various reasons that didn't come off. Manchester United have had a real shortage of goals. Rasmus Højlund has tried his best, and there's a lot of mitigation there because it's not been the most creative Manchester United side. But the team's clearly lacking a number 9 who is prolific. I know Sesko isn't Ruud van Nistelrooy in terms of his figures, but he's young, he's very exciting, and Manchester United have long considered, and long before Ineos came in as decision makers, as him as being somebody who could absolutely improve the forward line. So if he does come, and it's looking like that's going to happen, then I think the signing would be welcomed by almost all Manchester United fans.
Now, front three of Bryan Mbeumo, Sesko and Matheus Cunha seems like an upgrade on last season. Are you starting to feel encouraging signs about this season ahead?
Yeah, I've just been on the pre-season tour of the United States, and I spoke to a lot of people there on and off the record. And I think you've got to temper any optimism with the fact that most football fans, maybe not more Sheffield Wednesday fans, but would feel optimistic at this time of the year. And the mood is genuinely good, though, among the players. I spoke to several of them and said it's much better than in recent seasons. There has to be a big improvement. Obviously, United only finished 15th last season, but I think there will be. And I think the new signings are encouraging. That said, if you'd have asked me a year ago, I would have probably said similar. But I do think it helps that Ruben Amorim has been in. He's got to know the league, his players, living in a new country, his coaching staff as well. And almost more importantly, the tactical side of it, which he's trying to implement. That wasn't going to happen overnight. So I don't think Manchester United will win the league this year, but I do feel optimistic that things are going to be much, much better.
And on Sesko's potential move to Manchester United, what do you think that would mean for the future of Rasmus Højlund? Because he says he wants to stay and fight for his place. Of course, United aren't in Europe this season. Do you feel a sense of sympathy for Højlund having had to lead the line for 2 years without a huge amount of joy?
Yeah, I do, because he's really tried and he's made runs which haven't always resulted in goals. But I think it's fair if you look at all the Manchester United players last season and you had to give them all an end-of-term report. Perhaps only Bruno Fernandes came out of it with marks that he might be happy with. I don't think, in answer to your question, the future looks very optimistic for Rasmus Højlund at Old Trafford, because Manchester United need to bring money in. That would be free players who've been brought in for a lot of money, and United in this transfer window need to move players on. So Højlund is not going to attract the sort of money that he was attracting a couple of years ago. When United got him, PSG and Tottenham Hotspur both went for him. But I do think he's a very good player. I wouldn't have a problem if he stayed at Old Trafford and fought for that number 9 spot if Sesko comes in. But I'm also a realist and know that Manchester United, A, need to sell players, and B, Rasmus Højlund will want to play football, especially as there is a lot fewer games this year with no European football.
Let's get to player sales then. It's proving fairly difficult at the moment to offload the likes of Alejandro Garnacho, Antony and Jadon Sancho, which you'd think they're going to need to do if they're going to try and sign a player like Carlos Baleba.
Yeah, I think Baleba's going to be difficult to get through. The fact that they were able to go for Sesko without selling anybody would have surprised me a month ago. But last week in Chicago, it was explained to me where the money's coming from and how this is happening. And United have had some funds come in this season, or will be coming in from sell-ons of players who've left the club. I think compromise is going to be needed. And if you look at the players who are not training with the first team, they're clearly talented. They've got the merits. They will be attractive to some suitors. And you would assume that they want to play football, even though they've got big contracts at Manchester United. So I think a compromise on their wages. We saw that with Marcus Rashford when he moved to Barcelona, and Manchester United don't pay any of his wages either. And I think as the transfer window ticks down, the movement will start to happen. At the moment, you will have a lot of clubs watching those Manchester United players thinking, we really like them, but we can't afford the wages, we can't afford the transfer fee. So I think compromises will be needed, and I think they will come. And there's still actually quite a long time left in this transfer window.
Yeah, there absolutely is. Andy, thank you very much for now.
Thank you.
Now, we heard from the Chelsea boss, Enzo Maresca, earlier in the show about potential outgoings. He said the club text or call him when a player leaves and that he is only working with the ones that we want. Rob, let's bring you back in now. It feels like Maresca isn't too interested or too concerned about the players who are not in his plans. What did you make of those comments?
Interesting. It's interesting how kind of calm he is. Because I think at Chelsea you need to have that calmness, and I think he's managed it excellently over the last year. And the way he kind of just puts, oh yeah, they'll message me, phone me, text me, because I think he kind of files it in the way of, I got so much things every day, I got a million things on my plate right now. This is the best way I can manage the current squad and the current team and training sessions and preparing for games, is you let me know. This is the plan. I'm sure, listen, they'll have discussions of what they want to do, which players he wants, which players he wouldn't mind going. I think that's clear. And then after that, I'll leave it to the upstairs who do the business side of it and the negotiations and the recruitment side of it. So he's very calm in the ways like, okay, text me, phone me, and let me know if they're in or they're out. And then I'll work with them, or thank you very much, see you later. And I think there's a few players like that who I think you'd want to move on right now, especially the ones that were out on loan last year.
It does feel pretty brutal, doesn't it? Raheem Sterling and Ben Chilwell, presumably two of the players who aren't in the first team plans, presumably training elsewhere at a different time, not allowed in certain parts of the building. As a player, have you ever been in that situation where you're frozen out, you know you're not going to play for the team? What's that like?
Oh, yeah, I've been in that situation, and it's very, very difficult because, you know, I think sometimes people don't realize the player wants to be involved in training, wants to be involved in the games and be part of the team and contribute. And sometimes it's out of your hands. You have to go and, you know, okay, listen, the rest of the team is in, they're training at 10:30. Well, you're in at 3 o'clock, and there's about 3 or 4 of you training. It's horrible as a player. I've been in that situation. It's very, very difficult. And sometimes it's, like I said, it's out of your hands and you can't do anything about it, apart from apply yourself correctly and wait, because maybe your agent wants to, you know, working on a deal and it comes later on. So you just have to stay focused. The biggest thing is, as hard as it is as a football player, you just apply yourself correctly. Training, stay fit, be ready for your move when it comes. And yeah, I think, listen, as a player, it's the most difficult thing. You know, I think secondary to one, you being injured, and number two, when you are not in the plans and you're trying to say, well, I'm kind of in no man's land where I'm here, the contract is here, I'm coming in every day, but I'm not training with the team, and I'm waiting somewhere else that somebody's going to come and obviously take me on as a, you know, to a different team. So very, very difficult. I can understand completely how those guys feel at Chelsea. And let's face it, I think some of them need a refresh, need a different club, because when you have like what we had last year at Chelsea, 30 players and some players not changing, there's not enough room for players to get changed in. That's a big problem for a football club. I've been in that situation where you got so many players and you know, you're all on top of each other in the dressing room, and even times where, you know, your kit is in a different dressing room and you kind of feel a distance, you're not part of it. That's the worst feeling for a football player.
Okay, on a related note, there are question marks over the future of Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea. It's understood several clubs are keeping an eye on the striker's situation at Chelsea.
No, Nico is okay. It's okay. I think, as I just said now, when the window transfer is open, unfortunately or fortunately, anything can happen. So this also involve Nico situation. At the moment, we also those arrived 2 strikers, both of them in USA, Joao and Liam. So we see what's happened. Until the window transfer is open, anything can happen in terms of player arrive, and then anything can happen in terms of player leave.
Now, it's our understanding at Sky Sports News that Nicholas Jackson's valuation in any potential deal would be in the line with the fees we've seen paid for the likes of Hugo Ekitike and Benjamin Sesko if he does go to Manchester United. Do you think Jackson is worth that sort of money based on what we've seen in his 2 years at Stamford Bridge?
I think when you talk about there's a lack of strikers in world football right now, and I think that's also the problem. So when you do have maybe one or two, they kind of almost fall into that category. And when you play for Chelsea, the Man Cities, the Liverpools, your bracket or value is slightly different. I think he's done okay. I think he had a really good season the season before last. Last year he scored 10 goals. The season before he scored 14 goals, but a lot of assists, a lot of contribution. So he's a good player. And I think somebody would be lucky to have him. I think he's a good striker to have. I think Chelsea don't mind, just kind of listening to Mr. Maresca there, I think he's okay keeping him. But he's okay also if he goes, because I think Liam Delap coming in, I think it's changed it. I think Liam Delap is a quality player, and he's got probably the same level. If you look at contributions last season, he probably contributed more to his team than Nicholas Jackson did to Chelsea. So in terms of goals, in terms of being decisive and efficient, with the chances that you have. So as a quality player, he's come in and competition for places, and I think that's what Mr. Maresca wants. He wants competition for places. They've just won the Club World Cup. They're on a high right now, and I think he wants a high level, and he wants them to now compete for the Premier League. And I feel like they're starting to feel like they're getting ready for that.
Why do you think that they've seemingly moved on from Nicholas Jackson? He's probably third choice at this moment in time after they signed João Pedro and Liam Delap, as you mentioned. There's been two promising seasons, and that connection is very clear that's there between Cole Palmer and Jackson. And this season, we probably are unlikely to see that.
Well, like I said, I think they're okay if he stays. I think he'll play games. I think I see him very different to João Pedro. João Pedro, I think, is a much different player to Jackson. So I think Mr. Maresca is going to be looking at it and see there's a different quality that comes into the game. But I think it's just because he's sometimes, I think maybe last season he's under-delivered. He scored goals, yes.
Discipline issue, potentially?
But, yeah, I think that's also another thing. There's a couple of big moments where he got sent off, including in the summer in the Club World Cup as well. So sometimes those things contribute, as well as you underperforming, not getting enough goals. When we get the chances, are you decisive or not? Let's not forget that Mr. Maresca also worked under Pep Guardiola, and we know the demands that come from him. So sometimes scoring or you miss the chance, it contributes to you at the end of the season. I'm afraid I need better. And I think that's where he is now. I think that's where Chelsea are. But listen, I think if he goes somewhere else, price and also the player that he is, I think he'll be a very good addition to somebody.
OK, let's see what happens next with Nicholas Jackson. Still to come on Lunchtime on Transfer Talk, we'll discuss Darwin Núñez's move away from Liverpool and what that may mean for Alexander Isak. Hi there, welcome back. We all love a good transfer reveal, and it's fair to say Birmingham's media department have had quite a bit of fun with their new signing that they have announced today. With a name like Marvin Duksch, there's only one way to go. Bring on the rubber duck. He has 2 caps for Germany, and the striker joins the newly promoted club on a 3-year deal after 32 goals in the last 3 with Bundesliga side Werder Bremen. Now, we understand Liverpool are in the market for an attacking player this summer. Once Darwin Nunez's move to Al Hilal goes through, Nunez has been given permission to finalise his move to the Saudi Pro League club after agreeing to the move. Al Hilal reached an agreement worth around £56.6 million. Rob, how do you reflect on Darwin's time at Liverpool? Because there's the silverware there, but probably hasn't had the impact which he'd have wanted.
Yeah, do you know what? I think as a football player, the one thing you want to be or leave with is the fans' adoration for you being effective in your position. He's a forward, he's a striker. Did he score goals? Was he consistent? Was he a superstar in his position? I think he is more of, he brought energy, and he's a decent player. But unfortunately, he's underperformed because the amount of times that he has chances, I think the amount of times that he could be decisive has not been there. Yes, he scored some goals, yes, of course, but he's probably missed so many that's the worry. Is inconsistent in that. And, you know, when you play for Liverpool, when they're champions, and you've got Mo Salah, who just always over-delivers. Unfortunately, Darwin Nunez is under-delivered, and that's been the biggest problem. He's a good player, but he's under-delivered.
That move could have implications on Alexander Isak. He was ordered to train away from the first team yesterday at Newcastle and did not attend the family fun day Eddie Howe and his staff had put on for the first team. Did Eddie Howe, without not having to invite him to the party, but did he have to take a strong stance when it came to Isak after he suggested that he wanted to explore a move elsewhere?
Yeah, and I would have loved to be in that position or be in the room when he's had the discussion with Isak, because Isak is brilliant. Eddie Howe manages his players very, very well, very strict. So I think he would have been disappointed that Isak wants to leave, but it's understandable. Listen, when the champions come and they can pay for you over 100 million, we'll see what the number is actually later on if it ends up going. But when they come in, of course, Isak's going to be tempted. Understandably so. Why not? Because he's a top player. And imagine, he's playing with Mo Salah, he's playing for the champions. And I think Liverpool right now are chasing the Champions League. And I think that's why they go for the Wirtz, the Ekitike. And then now you thought they were finished. They're not finished. And go for Isak. And I think Isak is one of the best players in the world right now. I think he's just from last season onwards, I think he's just on an amazing level. I think he's now, you talk about Haaland. Haaland's unbelievable as a striker, but Isak is right there. And you talk about world class, he's world class. And I think there's a reason why Liverpool are going for him, and they'll be willing to pay over 100 million. Now, from what I hear, 110 million, which is crazy, by the way. 110 is not quite enough. I still think that they'll negotiate, and there'll be conversations going on to see what is the actual price. What's the final price that Isak can go to Liverpool for? Because I think he'll go. I think it'll happen. It's just whether the price is right and the valuations meet together. But Isak, understandably, of course he's going to be tempted. And listen, I think a lot of people will say, oh, but why would you leave Newcastle? And, well, sometimes you want to go and play for Liverpool, play for one of the big teams. Of course, yeah, if he sees it that way. And I just think he's done enough at Newcastle that you can respect him for wanting to play for a team like Liverpool.
And just briefly, do you think that it will be easy for Eddie Howe to reintegrate Isak into the squad? Will the squad be having him? Will the fans have him after some of his decisions he's made this summer?
I think there'll be a section that don't like it for sure. Of course, Newcastle fans not like it. I think I just think he's a superstar in Newcastle and in the team, and what he's brought and what he delivers. So it's not his fault. Let's face it. it's not him instigating it. It's because Liverpool came in and said, we'll pay a large amount of money. Will you come? And they've had the conversation with Newcastle, and so far it's been turned down, but the conversations are still going. So it's not the case that he's instigated it. Liverpool have instigated it by wanting to buy him.
Rob, thank you very much. Don't worry though, Good Morning Transfers returns tomorrow at 9, and Rob is back in the studio with us as well. And Transfer Talk returns tomorrow at midday. And a reminder, you can catch the Transfer Show at 5 and 7 on Sky Sports News. Now, in the next hour, we'll be building up to the start of the Championship season. We'll be live to Wrexham and Sheffield Wednesday. We'll give the very latest on James Maddison and Benjamin Sesko's potential move to Manchester United.